Hello, I'm Ty. Today we're at the Southern Poverty Law Center, where they specialize in civil rights advocacy and challenging injustices in the Deep South. I'm joined by my friend Shantae, who'll be taking part in today's chat.
Thanks for coming, Ty. I'm glad that you learned a lot and you enjoyed the space inside.
Absolutely. Before we get started, Shantae took some time to show me around the memorial, and I'd like her to tell us a little bit more about it.
Thanks, Ty. So the Civil Rights Memorial Center is a part of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is basically a monument honoring those who engaged in various movements and those who were martyrs of various social justice movements, from the bus boycotts to work rages to LGBT rights, many things that exist in this museum, and people come and take part and learn about Alabama's history and learn about Alabama's contribution to nation and international movements.
Shantae, thank you so much for showing me around and taking part in our discussion. I'm excited to learn more about what you do at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Absolutely.
Back with some friends of mine, and we're going to start our group discussion after a short introduction.
I'm Brandon, I'm 26.
I'm Dorikius, I'm 33.
I'm Jonathan, and I'm 22.
I'm Xavier Julius, and I'm 19.
And I'm Shantae, and I'm 22 years old.
Shantae, tell us a little bit about what you do at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yes, so I'm the Outreach Paralegal Fellow for the LGBT Rights Project. I work with youth across the Deep South and facilities and schools, and I make sure that they're being treated adequately. I also provide trainings, cultural competency training, LGBT one trainings to mental health providers, service providers, teachers, professors. I just do it all.
I know in today's media especially, there's been a rising in representation of definitely LGBTQ people of all, across the whole spectrum. But do you think there should be more representation?
Absolutely. I still know youth that I talk to every day that when I go to their schools, they're like, where are people? I'm looking for my own friends. I'm looking for other youth of color that are LGBT or even an ally, but I don't see that. Where can I get that? And it bothers me all the time because I see other youth and other adults who have so much access to things that look like them, which brings them confidence, which brings them the means to feel like they can be who they want to be unapologetically.
Right. In part one, I remember we all spoke briefly about how a lot of things that we display in our lives, whether it's morals or values, we get from our parents. So the topic of like school behavior and bullying, especially with LGBT people, is so critical, especially in like adolescence, early education. What are some ways you think that we can change that behavior almost?
I think we need to start having some conversations in our schools, and we need to start training our educators to know how to deal with LGBT youth and know how to deal with situations where there may be a student or another staff member that says some insensitive comments. A lot of people you can't show up for someone if you don't know how.
Absolutely. I briefly asked about specific cases about gay men of color, but are there any cases regarding just a general male of color?
So currently, we don't have any cases open for men of color. We are actively looking, such as our trans healthcare exclusions project that we're doing. We're looking for those trans men of color, trans people, period, who aren't getting their hormones or who are being mistreated by medical service providers, because we understand that those who aren't of color are overrepresented in legal cases that go national all the time, and we're doing our best to change that.
I'm a health educator at Medical AIDS Outreach of Alabama. And I really wanted to know, how do you incorporate HIV awareness in what you do?
Certainly. So actually, before I started at the Southern Poverty Law Center, I was a part of a collegiate group called Alabama Alliance for Healthy Youth. And we were charged with promoting policies that promote sexual health in the state of Alabama. So with that, we would go across the state and provide trainings or condoms or contraceptives for women and men of color who normally wouldn't have access to this to those resources. I take what I've learned there and I implement it in my work, which means if I go to a school and I'm doing a Know Your Rights training, I make sure I have like condoms with me, or I have like resources they can have if they want to know how they protect themselves, because you should have the right to learn how to protect themselves.
Well, what are the barriers that are preventing LGBTQs from Alabamians from adequate resources?
There are tons in the state of Alabama. Where can I start? Let's start with transportation. Most of the times you'll see that a lot of these health facilities or resources are either in these hubs of like Birmingham, or you'll see them in Montgomery, or you'll see them in Huntsville. And the problem is we can advertise and get on Facebook and send these invites to these people all we want, but because there are no consistent bus transportations, you won't find anything for these people to find some sort of ride share. Most of the people don't even know if there was a ride share to exist, that they could even do it. Another thing could be limited access to resources, such as if we have trainings. A lot of times I've experienced in my time of activism in Alabama, we would host trainings for HIV positive men, and all we'll see in the crowd is other service providers. So there's a disconnect, obviously, because we have the right mindset that we want to, teach these kids and give these people these resources. But if we're not intentional about actually going into the community, we're just going to keep looking at each other.
A question I have for you, Shantae, is what grade levels are you going out to speak to in schools, and then also are you going to schools across the state of Alabama or just here in Montgomery?
So typically I deal with high school students and college students. Right now I'm on Alabama State's campus, where I've been holding cultural competency trainings for the residential halls on campus. But I don't only do trainings here, I also do trainings in Mississippi and Georgia as well.
Okay. So how can the average person make a difference?
Start asking questions. Don't be afraid to talk about what you don't understand. And also, in you asking questions, don't ask questions from a sense of expecting whomever you're talking to be accountable, to educate you. Go outside and look for resources that you can do to be a better ally to whomever it may be, whether it's an HIV person that's positive or just an LGBT person of color or LGBT person, period.
I know for me in high school, my sex education teacher, I guess you could say, she wasn't even a teacher. She was like a person that they just brought in just to talk about sex. And every year we'd be like, oh my God, that's a sex lady. Like, we're about to talk about sex this week. I can remember she used to put a piece of masking tape on her arm, and she would rip it off. And then she would go to the next person, put it on her arm, rip it off.
Oh my God.
And she would be like, this is what it's like if you have more sex with more than one person.
You
So
know,
that you get DNA from everybody, and she would put it on and rip it off.
and it's funny, but it's sad, because this story is what you hear from a lot of youth. My own personal high school experience was we had a teacher that was a gym teacher, and because in Georgia they didn't really care to have comprehensive sex education, we would have this very weird session where they would dim the lights and they put down a project like on everything. Put down a projector, and then they showed the worst case of syphilis and was like, this will happen to you.
Yeah, I think we've all
I mean, I do understand that, but now we're not even getting that. So sex education is just totally wiped out of the school. I would rather be scared to death than not know anything about it.
Yeah.
And it's hurting us, because not too long ago, Montgomery was #1 in the nation for new STI cases, and Birmingham was 17, as of 2014, number 17 on HIV cases in America. So in Alabama, we need to start talking about things more than football, more than anything else other than what's important.
Absolutely.
Another question I have for you is that what Alabama laws are in place to help protect LGBT Alabamians in the workplace?
Right. So while there are no state-level protections, workers are protected under federal law these days, which is great, because before then people could literally, have a job, and if they decide to go get married and a coworker sees it, they could be fired the next day. So while we still have a long way to go, it is still important to acknowledge that there is help out there.
And is that coverage federally, is that from the Civil Rights Act of 1991, which covers, I want to say, sexual orientation?
I think it's race, creed, orientation, but also that is correct. So Title IX also, which protects mainly students who want to join a team, but their coach says they can't join the team because they're a girl, or the newly trans kids can use the bathroom of their choice. Now, sometimes schools may try to find a loophole to where they can't uphold that, but legally, trans students, LGBT students have the right to go to the bathroom of their choice. Women or men have the choice to be a cheerleader or a football coach or a football player or a coach if they would like. And that's the beauty of like the reinvention of talking about these conversations and implementing laws that can protect us.
What are some other ways that we can be more inclusive?
What are some ways we can be more inclusive other than what we're doing right now, which is talking about how to be more inclusive? You can like look for literature that represents those who you want to know more about. Look for literature that includes LGBT folks. Look for literature that includes those who may not necessarily go by what gender construct America sets for us today. That is how you can be more inclusive. Also, you can advocate on behalf of those who you want to know more about, which means if there is someone who may go by they, them, their pronouns, and someone comes up to them and misgenders them, and you know about it, you can even ask them, hey, I saw that happen. Do you want me to say something next time? Are you okay? How do you feel? As long as you center that person that you want to learn more about or the issue that you want to learn more about, I feel like that's how we can holistically create a sense of advocacy around the state.
So y'all know it's been about 2 months since the incident in Orlando. I want to get you guys' open and honest opinion. What is your current state of mind when it comes to Orlando?
Man.
For me, it still stings like it happened last night. I remember exactly where I was when I heard the news about Orlando. I was on the way back from Jackson Pride in Jackson, Mississippi, on the way to Birmingham Pride, and I saw the trending thing on Facebook about Pulse. That's all I kept seeing. And I looked at it, and in my own sense of denial, I was like, no. And I think at first when I saw it, it was at the point where they said there was only like 12 or something. And then like I refreshed and it said like 49, I believe. And it just, for me, my whole heart sank. And this will probably be included later, but I have this tattoo in memory from those who were killed in the Pulse shooting. I feel like we have to remember as LGBT folks of color, particularly, we make do with whatever spaces that we have to have a celebration, because ourselves, our identities, our intersecting identities are often not celebrated. So that means sometimes we got to go in somebody's basement or we got to go in somebody's make-believe, whatever, to have our own, celebration of life. And I feel like that was violated. That's what happened.
Yes. Me personally, I feel like that could have been any club. It could have been any orientation or anything. It could have been here in Montgomery at the hoodest club that but we as a people, like, that, it has really turned me off of going to the club, period, because I just don't feel safe. I've never been one to be in a space where it's one way in and one way out anyway. And that just totally just took me out. Okay, I'll just party at home, because I have friends that we've talked about it, and one of my friends made a statement that this was the 9/11 of the gay community, of the gay, population, and I was like, wow. It hit home because, like I said, that could have been anywhere, and that incident is just so sad that an individual would just take those extreme measures to go in and just do people like that. Like, I just can't even imagine how those people were feeling and the thoughts that were going through their head. To see the young man, the text messages he was texting his mother, and I'm going to die.
And the Snapchats too.
And I just don't, the parents, to the mother, to receive those text messages and looking at the message and seeing her son telling her that he's coming, I'm about to die. I don't know. There's no feeling in the world that could amount to that. To just be looking at your child saying, I'm about to die, and I just literally just came to the club just to enjoy myself, have a few drinks.
And I think about also just who was in the room. There probably were some folks who were out for the first time in that room.
It was.
There were some people who probably got outed in their death in that room. And it's just a lot to think about.
There was a mother in there with her son celebrating, I guess, just going out for the night. And she passed away. She died. He didn't.
Well, I think you got both of you guys kind of hit on all of the points that how I feel, and I think that that incident hits home for all of us because I think we identify with all different type of communities, but with that incident really affecting the LGBT community, it kind of hit home and right into our hearts. But what I love and is that that's great to see is that it kind of brought the LGBT community together to kind of see the change that we want to see and say, hey, this happened, but what can we do in the future? How can we change this? And how can we educate others that we matter and we have a place in this world and we should be respected? So I think that's awesome.
And I also see a great number and increase in the advocates. And most people didn't know that they were an advocate, but I saw so many people that at one point had nothing to say, and they had so much to say because, like you said, it hit home, and they realized that, wow, like a person literally took action off something that a lot of people were thinking.
I agree. And like I said, I was on the way to Birmingham Pride, and once I arrived, the whole mood at Sloss Furnace in Birmingham was just toasted. And it felt like everyone knew they were supposed to be happy. One, because they felt like they were obligated to be happy for those who weren't able to finish partying that night. And two, a lot of people were coming because they couldn't. Some people had family that didn't really understand the significance of the Pulse shooting. So a lot of people will walk around looking for community and looking for those who they identify with who could help them heal. And I think it's beautiful to see that's happened since Pulse. A lot of people, like you said, are becoming advocates for these issues, and we need them.
I do want to know, we're all advocates in the state of Alabama. What would you charge us with when it comes to helping those of people of color?
My charge for fellow advocates out there, and myself, this is my own charge because I'm constantly evolving, I'm not perfect, is to make sure that you are being holistic in your efforts of outreach, which means do this from a sense of what would work for them, not necessarily what would work for your quota, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. We want to thank you, Shantae. We want to thank you out there for watching our video. You can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, also YouTube. You can also get more information about the Southern Poverty Law Center from splc.org and also visit us at adph.org.